Now the G35, on the other hand, I bought it from Copart, cheap. Turn around, it came with nice wheels.
How cheap?
$1,100.
Damn, really? When?
2 years ago.
Was it running?
Running and driving.
Shit.
With the sit speed. I'm literally one hand on the steering wheel. I don't never use two hands. I'm usually lazy handing it.
I cannot do that.
Then either hand on the top or hand on the bottom, and you're just sitting there
How many tires do you probably have to change just one day out of an event? Just a normal grassroots event.
We average around 90 to 100.
And you said how much a tire? 10?
10.
Dude. Welcome back to the #1 drift podcast on YouTube, presented by Enjuku Racing. I am Dawson, and today we have
Nathan from Driftaholics Racing.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Drove quite a distance from North Carolina, but of course, Enjuku, if you are out there building your car for the first time, trying to get out on track, they do have all of the parts you will probably need to get that car to the first track day. Of course, we go a little in depth on that at the end of the episodes every single time, so stay tuned for that one. Wait till the end, but look below the video. If that subscribe button is still red, go ahead and click that and hit that bell notification while you're at it so that you're always updated with every single episode. And don't forget, if you do want a chance to win some BUMZ glasses, you can comment on each episode and like it until the end of March, the last episode in March. Each episode will be a new giveaway. Yeah, shout out to BUMZ for that. And grab the merch too if you have not. We do still have sizes available, so look below. Links are all in the description for all of that. If you want to give a little bit of an introduction on yourself, and who you are, where you came from, what you drive, stuff like that.
So, my name's Nathan again from Driftaholics Racing. I've been drifting since 2008. Started back then in a 1991 FC Art 7 convertible.
Fucking right.
So,
It
streams. It was heavy, but I mean, had torque of nothing.
Well,
so,
yeah, of course.
So, it was definitely a learning chassis. And, once I've drifted once, I couldn't stop. So it went from the FC to S13s to Miatas, you name it. I probably drove it once. It's been a big learning experience over the years, but it's always been something that's keep me going. So now I'm in the 350Z and a G35 Sedan. The 350Z is my comp car. We currently are a VQ 35DE, which is getting ripped out as we speak.
Nice.
Had a Vortec on it.
A DE.
It was a DE. It was a DE. Didn't burn a drop of oil, even with the supercharger.
That's surprising.
And now with it is.
What the fuck?
It just lives. Like the last motor didn't live long, sadly. Once we supercharged it,
it's not going to on a supercharger.
We
had a buddy that did
first
that.
tune was like 476. It's spicy, and piston 5 and 6 left on space transmission.
We're gonna leave this chat.
Yeah, so they're gone. We're at about just under 400 now, which it eats it. Hyperfast, not an issue. This year we're doing a VHR swap. My main sponsor, On Point Parts, they part out G35s, 350Zs, 370Zs.
Oh, sick.
So they had, they've been really good to me.
They're local to you?
They're local to me. They're at Reedsville, which is pretty close to VIR.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So we had the idea of, I want to go pro-am eventually, but I don't want to go LS. Nothing against LSs. It's just
sick.
Stick with your sponsors. If your sponsor is, Infiniti, Nissan company, try to stay with that. Yeah. And I mean,
especially if they're your title.
The VHR, I mean, it's a capable motor. We've seen it in FD and other sports. So, 525 on another Vortex supercharged setup will be plenty for most stuff. Now the G35, on the other hand, it is a party car. Like it is. I bought it from Copart, Brett, for cheap. Turn around. It came with nice wheels.
How cheap?
$1,100.
Damn, really? When?
This was 2 years ago.
Was it running?
Running and driving.
Shit.
With the sit speed.
Copart's the move.
It was the middle of a 3-car wreck.
So
she's definitely not the prom queen, but
two front, two rear, instantly.
she was definitely winched out both ways. But I mean, she drove on the trailer. She drove on the track shortly thereafter. Sold the wheels for like $600. So I'm like, not even any money in the car. So don't care if I wreck it. Don't care if anybody else wrecks it.
Yeah.
Came with coilovers. Came with aftermarket arms. So all I did was weld the diff, throw a seat in there, and the GK Tech bolt-on kit. called it a day. Pretty simple.
Nice.
Just no fucks.
Yeah.
But other than that, with the drifting side now, I still compete. Still do a lot of party events. Got my wife into drifting. She loves drifting. My kids want to get into drifting.
Yeah.
So it's a family affair.
We'll get into all that.
Yeah. It's pretty deep. With the business side, we used to host events back in the day. We do it less now just because the market's kind of tough to host an event and be successful.
Oh,
so we're very reserved. We kind of do now. We do tires. We take tire orders before an event. We'll bring them to the event, and we do tire changes at the event. So it's a very, I won't say profitable from my side.
Packed business.
It's a packed business. So we have a enclosed. Like it took me many years to go enclosed. Like first 2 years, I drove to every event. Driving home with that FC1 event, my clutch system gave out. So it was run all the stop signs safely, and get home some way, shape, form. And after that event, and it was an hour drive home, I'm like, I need to start using the trailer. So now we have an enclosed. I can pretty much, it was a big investment. Yeah. It's still
how big did you say it was?
It's a 24 foot. I was wanting a 28, but for $3,800.
I was considering going enclosed and getting one, and that's what everyone was suggesting was around a 24 foot. Just because of car and then having extra room for wheels and everything. You don't realize how much room you actually kind of want in an enclosed. Yeah. I was like, dude, I'll just get a 20 footer. Like, I don't really need that much space. It's not like I'm carrying it. And they were like, don't do that. Don't. You're going to regret it. You're going to grow out of it so quick.
But once you add in, like for us, we add in a tire changer, a rolling toolbox, secondary toolbox. Now that we have a secondary car, we bring to events. Tires, because the comp car will eat up. If we go to Hyperfest, I'm using at least 20 tires.
Yeah.
And then so for events, we have 60 tires people order before events, and we bring them to the event. So my trailer was just like, I pull up, you don't see a car, you see tires.
Have you hit the weight limit? Yeah.
we won't check that.
You don't check, it's all good.
Funny story. We had a Suburban 2500 last year.
Okay.
I packed it on before I left for work. And this was a lot of tires. There's probably 110 tires in that trailer with the car tire changer. Come back home, the tongue of the trailer was on the ground. Ended up, we snapped the rear of the Suburban.
Oh my God.
Overweight, gross overweight. And that was just because we,
aren't the 2500s on a truck frame though?
It's a 8-load heavy duty setup. Yeah, its towing capacity was 12,000 pounds.
Damn.
And we just had too much weight up for the tongue. We had the tire changer right up front too. So it was definitely it was probably mainly my fault, but it was also it was not the nicest trucks either. So she had a hard life.
Oops.
It happens.
What can you do?
So we tired her, bought another one, and we don't get miles per gallon. It's pretty much we fill up twice on the way down somewhere and twice on the way back. Yeah. So it's pretty rough, but that's the jump with the enclosed. Yeah. But for us with the enclosed, it was a cheap deal. It's $3,800 to take it home. But when I bought it, my mindset was, all right, how many events do I go to that's 2-day?
Yeah.
If I sleep in the trailer, that's $100 hotel room saved.
Yeah.
So you can go to Hyperfest for 3 days. You drive up on Thursday night and you stay Friday, Saturday, and then come home Sunday. Yeah. It makes it worthwhile. Just sleeping in
the tent. Do they have bathhouses and stuff there? You can shower and stuff?
They have shower houses, yeah. They have a couple of them. So if one's packed, you can just to the second one.
Oh, so that's cool then.
It's not too bad.
Because that's one thing that I've considered doing. That was a big reason for considering the enclosed, but I decided against it because I was gonna finance it and stuff like that, or considering that. But it was gonna be like another car payment basically for the one that I wanted, and I was like, nah, it's not worth it. I'll stick with my enclosed and get like a camper topper or something instead. But that you don't have anywhere to shower if you do that. So that's one thing that I hate feeling gross. I have to shower.
That's a fair point. Dude wipes can only get you so far. So the plus
not
side
sponsored.
Not sponsored, but if you know, you know. Yeah. We go to MB Drift all the time. That's our local track. It's an hour from the house, but when you add in that, you drive all day, that hour drive home is just, you don't want to. Especially when you have to wake up the next morning and do it again. So we usually stay at the track. They have a shower there. You're staying in the paddock
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cool experience. I mean, it's a massive place, but
Yeah.
Rockingham Speedway, but it is
Well, they got
fantastic.
like little condos and stuff at VIR.
They do have the condos at VIR, which is, for Hyperfest, they sell out instantly. Like getting in there is really hard. I mean, but the party on the outside is much more fun anyway. So
there you go. Hell yeah. All right, well, let's jump back on the cars a little bit. Give me, I guess, more of an in-depth rundown on the setup of the 350Z, the competition car. So, like, what specific angle kit? Like, what all is done to it to consider it a competition car in your eyes?
So it started as a simple seat time car. Didn't have a problem. I could run it for a whole year without basically touching a bolt on it. Just tire changes, oil change. Then we went to the bolt-on kit from GK Tech, then the lowers. Enjuku Racing's Black Friday sale a few years back. Their cage kits for that price I was like,
unbeatable.
Might as well buy it. And then, if you're buying one thing from Enjuku, you buy multiple things. So it's like clutch, flywheel.
That is a good thing that they do set for a lot of cars too. They have their own just regular cages and stuff that you can weld in. You said you got a bolt-in one?
I got a weld-in.
Okay.
It doesn't come notched, so you have to do your own notching.
You just got to do the notching.
But I mean, that's the easiest part. You don't have to do all the bending. That's a lot of time consuming. And if you bend it once wrong, I mean, start over.
Wasted a whole tube.
Yeah. So it was a no-brainer. I was still fresh on learning, welding in cages back then. So I had a buddy come over. He helped me with the first part of the cage, and after that, I was like, this is easy.
Yeah.
Other than when
I need to do a cage on mine next year. I'm not doing it this year, but it's just I don't have the time for it right now.
It makes it. I used to still daily at times back then, and then once the cage went in, I was just like, never again.
No.
It became strictly a track car, and then so we had that set up. I had some cheap coilovers on there, and I was still playing with spring rates, and then I went and signed up for through BC to order some of their coilovers. Custom spec 16K fronts, 5K rears with the long stroke. The Drift Spec DS series.
Yeah.
Been fantastic. I mean, plenty of adjustment.
Did you get the Swift springs? Or did you just keep the regular BC springs that come with it?
Kept the BC springs
just
came
the
with
Drift
it.
Spec one, yeah.
And they work just fine. I haven't had any issues out of it. And that's even after going rear mount. It still feels pretty balanced. And we don't run a sway bar up front, so that's why I have such a heavy, the 16K front's kind of excessive, but we don't run with how.
Why'd you choose to go no sway bar?
Just because of clearance issues. We're running.
Oh, that's it.
We run wide wheels up front, and so I kept on hitting the sway bar, and you want more angle. We don't want less. So once you keep going,
go smaller wheel. What do you mean?
Oh, you gotta have.
I like self steer, so I like the sway bar being in there.
Mine. I mean, if you ever watch me drive, I'm literally one hand on the steering wheel. I don't never use two hands. I'm usually lazy handing it.
I cannot do that.
It's either a hand on the top or hand on the bottom, and you're just sitting there just guiding it ever so slightly. It's really easy to drive with the setup we have. We went to a 1/2 inch toe out this year. We was about a 1/4 inch, which is easy to drive. Once you go to half, it's pretty snappy. But driving that way all year, I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. Wait. So okay, what is your wheel spec up front then?
I run 17x9 plus 25.
Oh, you run 17s up front.
I run 17s because when I bought Stage Wheels, so that's who I buy through, they didn't have 18s at the time. He had no stock, and this was like 3 weeks before an event, and I was like, what do you have in stock?
I need something.
And he's like, I got a bunch of 17s. I was like, sold. And then last year I sold off some of the rear 17s and got 18s on the rears, but I kept the 17s up front just because, I mean, my front end's already set up for it. I don't want to have to change it and then buy tires again, which I buy tires anyway. So but it's more of laziness, but it's fine. I mean, when you got that many drift cars at the house, a simple task is like.
I've seen a lot of people run 17s up front on Z's, but most people I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning for the people that like do it on purpose. That's what you could get. So I understand that, but. I've always run 18s, and of course, like I have Kanseis, the Neos, but I run by 9s up front. I've always ran by 9s, and that seems like the perfect width setup. Because like, what tire did you say you run?
I run Kendas.
Like the width.
The width I run up front 245s.
245. Yeah. See, so you probably got a good amount of stretch
I
up front.
decent amount of stretch, and then I tend to run about 32 psi on that size tire. And we didn't at first have the maxed out on the LCAs from GK Tech. We were kind of reserved because we didn't want to have that poke at the top and rub the top of the fender.
Gotcha.
Because even after rolling it, you still get a slight, you hit a bump, you hear it.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to be a little bit reserved, and then, we went full out. So I could probably change up my wheel specs again, but
yeah.
I mean, if it's not broke, why fix it? So
I mean, that's fair, right? No argument there. Okay, so I wanted to ask this just to preface for the audience. Comparing the 350Z to the G35, which one do you think you technically have more fun in?
That's the good question. So the sedan is, with it being not as snappy, it's easier to drive at times.
Okay, I guess break that down. What the difference between the way they both drive? Because everyone says they're the same car, all that shit, but it's 4 doors, like. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit heavier.
It's a little bit heavier. For me, it's when I go to transition, the Z wants to snap to angle a lot faster. I mean, it feels like a slightly shorter wheelbase, so it's going to be a little bit more snappy. You jump into Miata, it is instant, pretty much. It feels like you're on a roller coaster. The G35, it's kind of like you feel like it's a Sunday driver. It's very, everything's slower to react. But on the other side of it, you can pile 4 people in that car with you. So
it's a party car.
It is a party car. So for me, the Z has got to the point where it is cost versus fun.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, going to a party event, I could get really close to somebody, but I take a hit. That's an expensive weekend.
Yeah.
The G35, if I hit it, I mean, I just rode off a $500-$600 car. And then, I have a spare shell behind my house for rainy days. So, I mean, I have a Z shell sitting behind the house. I'm like, well, if I totaled the car, I have another car I could put it into. So,
and get more tax write-offs.
So the Z is fun on road courses. I mean, that's where that car shines with the power it has. And then, but the G35, like if I'm drifting with my wife or with friends, I can full send it and don't feel bad.
Yeah.
The Z, last time I full sent the Z, it was $1,000 weekend for a front left of the car. And that's just because somebody's like, just keep going. I'm like, the tire's bald. Just keep going. Okay.
If you say so.
So
I guess we're going to send it.
And we send it. And so. But I think having a car where you can really just let yourself go and have the fun. Like we were doing 360 entries, it was a Sunday at MB. My wife was driving. I was driving. Nobody else had tires left.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do 360 entries. Let's do this. Let's do some random stuff that, you don't tend to try. Cause I mean, either there's too many people on the track or you don't want to mess up your car.
Yeah.
For me, it's risk versus reward. I mean, for some people it's not, but that's good for them. But that's always something that's in the back of my mind when I'm, in that car is like, if I wreck it on a party weekend and next weekend's a comp weekend, I don't want to be that guy not making it out. So,
did you originally get the G as just to be a party car? Or what was the original purpose of getting that?
Original purpose of the G is I thought about having a secondary car to drive for myself. And then one of my buddies was like, hey, if you get it, could I drive it? And that's when the idea of maybe we should rent it out at times. But, if I'm not using it, nobody else is using it, I'd much rather
make some money off of it at least, I guess.
I mean,
or make some money back.
Make some money back. At least take a little bit out of the deficit of the car budget.
Yeah.
But I mean, most people, they want to drive.
Mm-hmm.
You new drifters, I mean, they see a lot of us out there. They're like, man, I want to dump 10 grand in a car. Here we got a $500, $600 car. Yep. Just go drive it for the day. See what you think. It might not be the car for you. I mean, you might hop in and be like, damn, this car's slow.
Yeah, well, you get the feel of it.
Exactly. I mean, for me, it's all about the growing that side of the business. I mean, not only the business, but the sport. Because, I mean, we have a lot of, here I've been 2008. I've been doing this for such a long time. I've seen people come and go. I've seen people get burned down. But, I mean, seeing the new drivers smile for the first time or the first time they ride, and then you see them come back in an event later and they're driving, blows your mind. So I'd love to give somebody that opportunity. I mean,
that's usually the golden ticket for people to make them commit to start pursuing drifting themselves. It's just one ride along. All I gotta get is one good ride along, and they're like, fuck, I can't live without this anymore.
And that's exactly the case. I mean, we have Piedmont Dragway right up the road from the house, and it's Piedmont Drift. Ryan and them run really nice events. I mean, that's packed house. Like you're waiting in line, but I mean, the atmosphere is undeniable.
Worth it.
Exactly. So I mean, to have somebody come in, they're like, I've never done this before. To they're riding, and then you see them with their own car. They're asking you, hey, should I buy this?
Yeah.
Does it meet the needs? Yes or no? Then buy it. I mean, you might be. We have car mates and models, all different car mates and models. You might be a Ford guy. There's a really cheap price on this Camaro or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Make the jump. I mean, do what's in your means.
I will say, still stick to what you want because you don't want to buy something you're not going to like and burn yourself out that way as well. That would be my only argument to that comment. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Well, with that comment though, I mean, if you really want to, let's say you want the newer generation Camaro as your first drift car. I mean,
I'm not saying that. Like if you're choosing between new gen Camaro and old gen Camaro, shut the fuck up. Get the cheaper one. But like,
definitely get
what I mean.
Get what you want, but also
if you wanted let's say an S13 coupe with a Silvia front, but you got to settle for a Miata, like that's kind of like. That hurts, but like, it's still a good car.
I mean,
what I mean?
In the grand scheme of things, are you going to stick with one car? I mean, I know I've had many of cars, but at the same time, if you're able to get in there and get practice for cheap, I mean, you might not like the sport. You dump a lot of money in a car you don't like, or you don't stay in the sport very long.
Use it a little bit. Don't dump a bunch of money into it, and then once you got a little bit of practice, sell it and buy what you want.
Exactly, but that's
that's better financial situation.
The best idea behind it was this. Have people. I know a guy who rents a Miata out. He usually keeps pretty busy. I was like, well, if we have a G35, now we have options.
Yeah,
you can drive the Miata. This guy's Miata one weekend. You jump in the 35 one weekend. Now you have two options of. All right, well now I kind of have an educated guess what I want.
Yeah, I mean a longer wheelbase and a shorter wheelbase.
Exactly. So. I mean, with the rental car side, I hate to charge as much as I have to charge, but by the time you trailer it to the event, I need to be on standby all day or somebody else. So if you have a problem, we can fix it. And if you're new, I want to be in the car. Because, I mean, you don't have risky throttle in cars, but we've all seen somebody on track who's like, you could have lifted and saved the car. Instead, you dipped your foot in the gas.
Doesn't that take away a lot of your time, though?
It does.
Focus on everything else?
But
if you have to be in the car?
Yeah, it does take a lot of my time. But at the same time, for me, on the business side, I got to protect the asset.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't know what he's doing.
Okay, so, let me ask you this then. How much does it cost to rent it for, let's just say, a day?
Standard day, let's say about $3 to $350.
That's not that bad.
Not that bad. I'm not making much off of it though.
I feel like a lot of people would pay $350 to borrow a car for an entire day. Do they have tires?
They'll have some burners. They won't have brand new tires. But
so you're supplying the tires too?
I will supply 2 wheels with some burner tires on there.
That's
so
you'll go through. Yeah, they won't go through any more than that anyway.
But if they want to spend more, of course I get tires. So I mean I can build out.
Yeah, so they'll be able to buy extra if they go over the 2. Okay.
Exactly. Rewind to 2008. I was a mechanic. We had free tires. So for me, they were going to throw the tires away anyway.
Different.
So it's exactly the case. It was like, okay, well, my weekend's going to cost my gas to drive there.
Yeah.
And food. And track cost.
Yeah.
So it was $200 weekends, and those don't happen anymore. So,
God. I wish.
But, back then you could buy an S13 for $1,000 running and driving.
$50 a night at the hotel and everything too. If you still had to stay there, you're too tired to drive home.
And there's usually 4 people willing to go in on that hotel, so it costs you nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but on the rental side, I mean, it's a calculated risk. I mean, you know it's going to happen. They're going to burn up a clutch. They're going to pop a motor. So it's always an educated risk on those things. But and that's one of the stressful points. I mean, the tire change inside, that's out of sight, out of mind. You have somebody who runs the machine. Usually your day's pretty easy unless they call out. And then you're like round 4 last year of MB, he called out. And here I was, like, I got 2 practice runs in the morning, went into my comp, lost to Darren in a BRZ. Like, my car's double the horsepower, and I got beat by a car basic mods. And I'm like, he's like, how's that feel? He's like, how's that feel? I was like, sounds like the average day in a race car. So,
Sounds like drifting.
Yeah,
Fuck.
exactly. So, I mean, the business side, it has its ups and downs. The rental car side, I mean, it's not very busy. I mean, I let people know I have it, but when they hear the $350 price tag, they're like, well, my buddy offered me to drive, just pay, help him pay for some odds and ends. I can just drive his car. That happens too. So, I mean, whatever gets somebody in the sport, I'm happy with. So if nobody else is driving it, more laps for me. So
There you go. Hell. Okay, so has there ever been a situation with the rental car that has come up that like has really shot you in the foot? Kind of like the car got badly wrecked and it was a whole bill you weren't expecting?
Not really. I know. So with
like, what are the negatives of having a rental drift car? Just to simplify the question.
It's another vehicle you got to fix. So
I assume that boils down to like regular maintenance. And stuff like that,
so once you have multiple cars, your maintenance time just shoots through the roof. So you forget maintenance on one, you go to
That's
the track.
always something you don't consider.
So I mean, it's time consuming to have a drift car. So at least if I keep it basic enough, it should be out of sight, out of mind most times.
Yeah. So
we did have an issue. What was it? We're gonna keep on this story, but it's the side story that makes the story funny.
Yeah.
So me and my wife got married at Rockingham Speedway.
Oh, sick.
So the plus side of having your wedding at a speedway is you can do what you want.
Hell
so we had all of our friends drifting. It's just, who wants to drive? Here's the keys. And that's what made that entire weekend for us. Because I mean, I probably got like 4 hours of sleep.
Babe, that's a good idea.
The venue cost for
I'm not
weddings
saying I'm getting married right now either. Fuck. I just realized that. But anyways, sorry.
That's on you. But for us, it was a nice way to get our friends who's always rode with us to drive. And so we took that car, the party car, when it was still fresh.
Yeah.
I didn't get to drive it much. I literally did an eyeball alignment when I got to the track. Got my wedding clothes on, had the wedding. We did 4 laps. Check engine light came on, car went in limp mode. And then it still had the manual power seats. I mean, still had power seats.
Okay.
Had a tall friend hop in. Seat went all the way back. Got stuck all the way back. We had friends who's 5'2" who couldn't touch the clutch pedal, gas pedal.
Oh, so no.
That was rough. So that whole day was constantly trying to fix things, resetting the computer. Luckily, my wife's Miata.
Wait, there's no bucket seat in that car?
There is now.
Oh, okay.
This was like right after I bought it from the
terrible.
I literally bought it from the auction and took it to, put a couple of pieces on there, welded the diff, and call it a day. Now we've took a lot more time, put a bucket seat in there, sliders, all this, whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that day was just, if you don't take the car to the track, you're not going to know it, no. So
yeah,
you're not going to know the limits. But luckily we had.
Oh god, dude, the test day I just had, I found limits.
Oh no,
this shit was a disaster. There's gonna be no vlog for that, by the way. I didn't record a fucking thing because there wasn't shit to record. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Sorry.
Test days are test days. We won't talk about those. But luckily, my wife's Miata was, it handled everything we threw at it. She burned up, I think, 3 sets of tires in one day, which if you're in a Miata, 3 sets in one day, I mean, it's a stock power plant. It's nothing special. So
yeah,
it's a lot of laps. I think, I know she was, her and her friends were thoroughly impressed by how well it did, even though it's still a wrecked. I mean, it's the same thing as the G35. It's a wrecked car when we bought it, but I mean, it does what it needs to.
Gotcha. Hell yeah. Well, when did y'all actually start doing events? Like, what is that? Why y'all started the company?
We did originally start the business for events. This is back in 2011. Just prior to that, I went.
Why? Why did you want to?
Why did I want to?
Yeah, just the barest of why.
I went to an event, Bone Stock GS 300 welded diff to compete because I haven't competed, in a while. So I was like, I want to see what happens. The event host was not happy his competition had a bone stock car in it. And so he was like, we have all these nice cars, here's this. And I'm like, here it is. So I didn't like that feeling of being told, bring something nicer, because my budget didn't allow me to. So I was like, you know what? Here I am living 15 minutes from VIR.
I will say there is a place for those events. I do like that those exist.
In 2008, to find an event was there's an event.
Okay, yeah, back then, definitely. That's I would have been like, all right, come on, we're all just trying to drive.
2008 to 2011, it was few and far between on the events, and usually, the cars at the events were mainly stock. Yeah. Once it started making the progress to the cars are now, is 9 day different, but
it just looked pretty.
Exactly. So for me, I didn't like that feeling of being told, "Hey, you need to bring something nicer," because I couldn't afford it budget wise, and I know if I can't afford it, there's somebody else like me who couldn't afford it either.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give a safe place where, let's learn. If we want to have a mini comp, let's have a mini comp. And VIR was right up the road. Their skid pad was only $600 for the full day, which $600, you get 10 friends together.
Cheap,
that was nothing. And that included EMS.
Damn.
So it was just like, that's a no-brainer.
Wow. What the fuck?
It wasn't very big. It was like 300 feet by 300 feet. But, I mean, asphalt wasn't bad. You can ask them to turn on sprinklers for additional cost, and then you have no tire wear.
What?
And we had events there for about a year and a half. We did do one Patriot Course event. Lost my ass on it. I think it had 30 some drivers willing to come out. I think we had about 12 or 14 the day of. So we lost our ass. Just by the time you pay insurance, track cost, all this, it made no sense to do it again.
Expensive it is.
So, kind of went back, reserved on that, did a couple of more skid pad events. And a lot of our drivers I still see now, like Justin Bowers out there. He's doing Pro-Am this year in his Mustang. A few of my other buddies I see come and go. So it was a nice way to learn and meet new people. And then we finally, one day, we have SCCA events at a airport up there back in the day. And that event was wild.
That sounds crazy.
So the Danville Airport had a runway that was closed down.
Okay.
So they didn't use it. SCCA would host events there for Time Attack.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, let me drop an email. Track manager's like, we'll do it once. See how it goes. If it's something that goes well, we'll come back.
Buddy.
And so that was our most successful event on our own. Bunch of drivers. We had Chris Ward up there and a few other guys who made the drive up there. And, I had a turbo Miata back then. I hit 80 on that slow little thing. I know he had to be, some of these guys had to be close to triple digits. And it's like, it's a runway. It's massive.
Yeah. How smooth is the surface on a runway?
Not very.
Not very?
It's kind of rough. But, I mean, I think I went through 4 or 5 laps on some burners and roasted them pretty quick. But, I mean, you got to think I'm a turbo Miata, though. Versus some of these LS cars that were out there, they get 2.
Well, but I mean, yeah.
But even then, they wasn't
that anywhere.
Yeah, but it was one of the fastest entries. A lot of guys were talking about. They're like, I've never been that fast on an entry. And then you had the width. If you wanted to try to throw it back, you had the width and the layout to do it. We had a few cars go off into the dirt, and then we had some other issues that ended up ultimately costing us not to go back.
Yeah. So you just basically ran it like an open skid pad and just mapped your own layout out?
Exactly. Okay. It was just, you'd come in, you had a long side road entrance to a big sweeper, and then it's just like, what was it? It's probably like 200 feet, 300 feet wide as the main runway. So you can come in, and then we just had that little figure eight on that side, and then you come back to the turn. But as the day progressed, we had a short entry. By the end of the day, there was no line. So you could just drive up, hit the very far peak of the closed road sign, and then turn back and just haul ass. and when I say haul ass, that you see some of those cars, they're first, second, third, fourth, and you're hearing the motor scream at fourth. They should be shifting, and you're like, oh God, they're going fast. Yeah. And, but that was...
Ain't no stopping them now.
Yeah, so... and we did tire changing back then, too, and, I was the main one on tire changing, and I hated myself that day.
Oh, yeah.
You had a lot of cars running, rubber band tires, and they were wide, and they want it stretched, and you're like, shit.
Why did you decide to incorporate the tire machine to add on to all of the event stuff going on?
So the event never made me money. We'll be honest. The events always cost me money. That was the one event I actually made a profit, which was surprising. Nice. The tire changer was always supplemental. As a driver, I'm not wanting to spend money where I don't need to. So if I'm drifting enough to pay for a cheap $500 tire machine, local for me was a $10 per tire change place. I was like, I know a week and I'm going 6 tires.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing 12, plus events a year, I could easily played off a tire machine by now. So that was my thought process on it. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to pay for somebody if I can save money. And then now it's just like, it's become a real business. It's, hey, can you come to this event? Can you come to this private event? And it keeps me busy. At the same time, I have a track staff who can kind of run the machine too, run whatever needs to be done. It's just been an add-on, but now it's kind of like the forefront. We sell tires now. We order straight from wholesale, bring it to the events.
Does the tire machine makes probably the business the most money?
The tire sales and the tire machine make the most money. They kind of go hand in hand, because then if somebody's buying 4 tires from you, that's 4 tire changes you just sold right there too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So, but I don't make bank on it. Like, a lot of people see the price tag, like, we charge $15 this year. It was $10 last year, but I mean, for the venue, most venues, either if a company's hosting it, they want a vendor fee, they want a percentage of the tire change, and then I got to pay my tire guy. Last year he was making a little bit. So for him to come out, he had to take off his full-time job. And some weekends, it just didn't make sense, money-wise.
Yeah.
So this year, I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you this much. I'm only making this much. But it should be enough, hopefully, to buy a new tire machine by the end of the year. I was like, so here's how much you're making. And he's ecstatic. He's happy. He's like, man, even if you have a slow day, I'll make out. I was like, that's what I want.
Sick.
Because, I want to have somebody who knows the machine, not going to break it, not going to gash somebody's wheel. Because, I mean, you get some 3-piece wheels in there and you get a gouge. You're never going to hit the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
Or you have to buy them, and you're just like,
I don't want that shit.
No, don't want that on me at all. So it's progressed now where, like, if you wanted to start a business, tire changing will probably be the best entryway into a business. Because, I mean, you can buy a used machine for $500-$600 if you shop on Facebook and stuff. I mean,
that's interesting.
But for me, it helps offset my cost of drifting. Like, I got the cars at the track. I'm already coming to the track, so my gas is going to go regardless. Yeah. So it's not like I'm going to go there and not drive. With that being said, though, at the end of the year, I'm still going to be in the negative drifting. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, I made $2,000 this year drifting and doing business. But hey, at least these 2 events, we made enough, tire changes. It covered my own tires, where it covered these costs. So it helps offset. I mean, it's never going to be a profit. Yeah,
it's all of this is. It's just to offset some of the costs.
Exactly. Always. So it's nice because it's a way to help build the brand. Drift events were fun. It helped build a little bit, but the tire changing side and selling tires has been far better for us. A lot less stress. Because, I mean, if you host a drift event, you're stressed. Yeah. From the minute you arrive to the minute you leave, you're stressed. You're worried about the drivers, you're worried about track staff, you're worried about every little thing that could and possibly would happen.
Go wrong, yeah.
Exactly. So,
how many tires do you probably have to change on just one day out of an event, just a normal grassroots event?
I think last year we averaged around 90 to 100.
90 to 100. And you said how much a tire? 10?
10.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, that's for one day. Like, if you're just out there doing it yourself, just bringing a trailer with a tire machine, like, that's all you're there for, you can make some
money.
Side money, I would say. I wouldn't.
But it also depends on it depends where you're at, if there's on-site power. Because if there's no on-site power, you got to run a generator.
Okay, yeah.
And then, like, I drifted at one...
have a big enough air compressor, too.
Air compressor's key. It also depends on what the weather's like outside. You go to an event and you got 40 drivers, you get static, like, I got 40 drivers. And then 2 days before the event, now it's raining the entire event. Oh, there goes your tire changing. And that
damn, I didn't think about that part.
But since I drift, it's kind of like, oh, well, that saves me money on the other end too. So it's a give and take. But if you're making it just a business, you're at the mercy of whatever happens at the track and the weather.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's a demanding job. Like, our guy who changes tires, he was sweating up a storm, and that wasn't even the hottest event of the year. We went to one CMD event; it was like 95 degrees outside. Could only imagine what the track temps were like. And their guy was changing the tires. I was like, man, I'm hot in the car. I can only imagine what he's feeling like.
Oh yeah, I'm putting in all the work. Okay, well the parts that you said you guys sell parts. What specifically do y'all sell? Mainly.
So we keeping the tire side and the changer out of it. We do a lot of small fab work. We bought, so during COVID and all that other stuff, when they were paying for some of us to stay at home, or the extra checks were coming in, I was investing it all. It was like, all right, JD squared bender, sold. New welder, sold.
Yep.
So now we do bash bars, I bend enough of them. My bumper flies off at least twice on an event, and I'm known for it. It's bad. Luckily, it's KBD kit on there, so it can take the abuse.
Yeah.
So Irvin's
Shout out to KBD.
been very helpful on not shattering a bumper constantly.
Yeah.
Because my OEM one had more zip ties than the rest of my car. But we do a lot of side fab work. We weld a lot of diffs. That's one thing we do a lot of. But as far as part sales, we have a lot of people asking us, "Hey, I need a bash part and I need it by tomorrow," or I have this idea in mind. I want to build this. We want to move toward selling other parts. Yeah. But I mean, by the time you add in a location price and everything else, it's a very long-term goal.
Yeah.
I mean, plus I got to work a full-time job, so it's kind of like give up the full-time job and pursue all this and hope. But with the family I have at the house, it's I got to be an adult first. My hobby comes second, and I still consider the business a hobby, even though it is real business, because I can't devote 40 plus hours constantly to that.
Yeah, of course not.
So
not with a full family and stuff.
Exactly. So, but in the grand scheme of things, though, we do want to do more. Yeah. Eventually.
Okay. So y'all don't house like any parts like at all right now. It's just kind of by order basis.
Exactly. We try to this year we're gonna do some standing orders for small parts. I know I go through. And then we like to be helpful at the track. I always bring spare axles for Z's. I don't know why people break them. Like, I've never broken a pair of axles.
I never have either. I don't understand that.
But I'm also not slammed. Like, once you slam it.
Yeah, but I'm like...
We ran 285s this year at one of the comps, some Kendas. And stock axles, 400 horsepower.
Yeah, 255s, 265s. Never had an issue. I don't know. If let me know in the comments if you know why people snap axles in Z's and I don't. I don't fucking know. It's so crazy to me. But okay, so what parts are you gonna try to keep on hand? Like the small, you said stuff that you go through a lot.
Stuff I go through a lot. So I know with GK Tech, a lot of guys run their ankle kits. So carrying their inners and some of their heim joints would be nice. Because when I break one, I'm like, all right, well I'm down to 2 spares left, and there's a lot of those at the track. There's a lot of FDF kits.
FDF, yeah.
So it's
beat me to it.
Exactly. So I mean, those are the 2 kits that's used a lot. There is some Wise Fab stuff, but it's less used on the Z. It seems S13s. It seems to be a lot more common.
Yeah.
So it's mainly I would like to keep people on track because I don't want to be the guy broke down on the weekend either. I mean, how many times I've seen a guy come up to the track first lap, he breaks something, and he paid for a 2-day.
Oh,
and you're sitting there crying for him because you're like, man, I'd hate to be him, but my car's still running. But
of course, more universal parts almost that you're trying to keep on hand.
Because we want to be helpful as we can.
Which FTF's good with that because their tie rods and stuff are, I think, almost majority of the kits are the same tie rods, so that helps a lot for the most part.
And that's where we were like we don't have to have name brand on certain things, but. We just want to make sure we have stuff. You see more Z's and G's on the track than anything else right now. That's just a given. We're getting to the point where e-chassis are, out there a lot too. It's just I'm not as familiar, so keeping those parts on hand is not as a need for me. So.
Yeah, not as important to you.
But yeah, just stuff like that. Really, just trying to keep people on track. Necessity will sell faster than a want.
Yeah.
So. That's where we're at.
Do you have like an end goal with what I guess you're trying to all incorporate with the business? Because it seems like a lot of different angles into one company. So like, are you trying to get it to a point of a big company where you're doing all these different aspects at a high efficient level? Or are you just trying to find what works best for you?
It's what worked best for me.
Okay.
There's a lot of, with everything, trial and error. You don't know till you try. If you don't take the shot, you'll never know. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
The only reason I ask is because I know there's a lot of people in the audience that want to find a career in drifting, and they all think it's FD, and I'm like, fucking no, stop it.
FD's a dream of mine one day. I'm gonna go pro-am. But I don't see that
as back of the mind dream. It just
stays
back there. If one day it pops up to where I have the money, all right, whatever, we'll run it.
But I mean, you look at all the pro teams. Not all of them were, making out like, hey, this is my full-time job.
I'm making nothing from FD. So, exactly. It's coming from elsewhere.
So for us, it's seeing what sticks. We want to, we're willing to take small gambles to see if they pan out. But I'm also like, small gambles is usually, well, you know, if I spend a couple $100 on a bunch of inner tie rods, I know I'll use them eventually. But,
either I'm going to use them or someone's going to buy them.
So we're willing to take small gambles. Big gambles, it's like hosting events. That's a big gamble. I'm not willing to do that anymore. So, I'm willing to help host, like with MB Drift doing the shootout coming up. We love working with other companies. Like that's for us, it's a lot more less risk.
Yeah,
and
a little more
for
manageable.
us, exactly. So we don't have to worry about renting the track. They've already got all that straight away. We're just helping them host the event because they're already having a 2-day event, so that's tiresome already. So if we can take some burden off of them, but also give us back to the drivers. I mean, my thought on the shootout was it's no rules.
Dude, I would almost say you build it into kind of an agency deal where that's what you don't host events, but you help other event hosts run their events by bringing the tire machine, selling tires, selling spare parts and stuff at the event, and sell it like as a package deal to event hosts. I think that would be pretty smart.
We were talking about that because I get a lot of invites to private events. Private events, you tend not to have a tire changer person. You don't tend to have a lot of things. So if I can rope in to drive for
in a fucking food truck with you, dog,
but
man,
tacos,
my God,
I'll
bro.
be done. Taco truck
that would be so perfect. What the fuck? Bring all of that tire machine. I got you tires if you run out. I got you fucking parts, tie rods, any the shit that you need if you break it. And then on top of that, I got your motherfucking tacos, dog.
That's the $1 million deal right there. That long term, we want to be able to have multiple small trailers. And like, if somebody's like, hey, I got a small event this weekend, I need, we'll have a set price. I want to rent a tire changer
like and a carnival setup. You just go up, unload everything. Like,
pretty much.
Let's rock and roll.
So that would be an end goal for me is to have more than just one trailer. We have technically, I have a secondary trailer I could use it for, but then I'd have to buy another tire machine.
Gotcha.
And then that's just more investment.
Throw one on each side of the pits,
That'd be, with Rockingham, you really need that. There's 2 tracks there, and it's literally like by the time you load up your car, drive around, wait for the tires, you wasted 30 minutes. But being right there would be time saver.
If you could host your own event, like, I know you said the stress and stuff now, like, rather not. But your ideal event, if you had all the money in the world from all the sponsors that you could think of, and you could have the event anywhere, where would it be? And what would you have at the event? Because it's so easy to say, like, I would do it at this track because of the, like, that's easy. But, like, what would make the event? Because you go to Grid Life or something like that, like, you're going for the concert. You're going for all the different types of motorsports. You're going for all the people that are there. Like, you're going for different reasons. So what, if you could plan out what your ideal event would look like, what would it be? That was a long-winded question.
That is a long-winded question. You're fine. With going on that, I mean, like, Hyperfest is always fun. Grid Lives are fantastic. Something on that line would be awesome. But it'd kind of be like what they used to do. You know, back when they did Formula Drift Road Atlanta, they would have an event afterwards, and some of the pros would still drive. You can go drive out there with the pros. I mean, Road to Atlanta's out. For me, it looks fantastic. I've never been on it. I've always wanted to go out there and drift it. And for me, if I had the budget, I'd be like, if I can rent any track, that'd be one of the tracks.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it'd be one of those, after party events where you have all the pros still out there wanting to hang out. You have all these grassroots guys who want to, kick it back and try it.
Yeah.
An event like that for me would be, top of the bucket list.
Hell yeah.
So.
Okay. I was just curious about that. Because I like seeing, like, weird places. Like, MDU, when they did the, like, where you had to go out on the road to get back on track and stuff like that. That's just cool to me. I like unique places. So, and then with Drift Masters, when they did the whole fucking stadium, that's insane to me.
That is.
So seeing unique stuff like that, that's what I like. Yeah,
events, dude. Like, I remember vaguely back, this is many years ago, there was a time attack on Tail of the Dragon.
Yeah.
And they invited a couple of drifters to come out and have some fun. And I remember being, back then, I didn't have a car capable of it. And I was like, dang, I wish. So, I mean, Honestly,
That's
if
one
I had the
opportunity I'll
money,
never miss again.
if I had the money, I mean, like, let's just rent out all the Tail of the Dragon and just full send it.
Oh my
But,
god!
I mean, you talking
I wonder
about,
how much that would, if it was even possible, how much it would cost to shut down the Tail of the Dragon for a day.
for a day. Did you imagine how many people would sign up for that? I wouldn't want to see all the emails. Be like, all right, let's just get somebody to look at all these and approve the drivers.
Adam LZ, get it done. You're probably the only one. Okay, so since you've been driving since 2008, I like to ask people this that have been in drifting for a while. What is something that you've noticed over the years that has changed that you're not necessarily that you're not fond of, but like something that you wish wouldn't have changed?
The biggest thing I wouldn't have liked to see change is the car level in grassroots drifting. Back in 2008, 2009, you were seeing cars podium that was just a bone stock S13 with like a welded diff or something. Podium.
Yeah.
Now,
you were saying like seeing grassroots cars now is like a $20,000 car.
Easy.
Break that down. What do you mean by that?
You have
because that may sound like absurd.
I've seen cars at grassroots events with quick changer and Ellis swap. I mean, you rewind to Formula Drift 2008. Most of those cars aren't making diddly squat for power compared to now.
Yeah.
So you have pro-am. You have not even pro-am level cars. You have grassroots cars.
Yeah.
Competing that could have been beating these FD cars of 2008, 2009, and just wiping the floor of them.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, I've gotten to the point with the competition car. I don't like competing in grassroots in a style event because I feel like if I was a new driver and I seen that, I'd be intimidated.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's not a walk in the park for anybody to win an event, but I don't want to be that guy of like, I'm bringing a gun to a knife fight. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Don't be the opposite either from my side. So like for the G35, that's gonna be my grassroots car this year. Like, I want to have fun. Because, cost versus reward, it's a grassroots event. You send a $25,000, $30,000 car, you ain't making that back at the end of the year. So,
no, of course not.
That's been the biggest jump is just the quality of car. I'm used to seeing back then, cheap car, full sends. Now it's just like, oh, wow, this guy pulled up in a 48-foot enclosed, hauling out a full team of guys. If I see one run and then you have a computer on top of your car and you're changing your tune, have two guys changing your tire pressures for you and another one just wiping down the windows again, I'm just sitting there like, go up a level. Maybe your grassroots. I get getting seat time, getting competition, but I mean, there is no middle ground between grassroots and pro-am.
Yeah.
And
so with like the level of grassroots cars that it is now, what do you think the difference is cost to entry to drifting just in general is back then versus now? Because like back then you could buy a simple car for probably at most to get you to the track day. I would guess $3,000. You could figure something out.
You're overspending at $3,000 back then. I've in 08, 09, I bought 4 S13s running and driving for under $1,000.
Yeah.
Drove them home.
Dude.
Just fine. I mean, definitely wasn't a prom queen by any means, but
I still beat myself up every day for never buying an S chassis back then.
After driving them, I wouldn't go back.
Wasn't even 16, but fuck it. Should have been buying S chassis and houses and all this stuff.
And a good retirement.
Yeah, I'd have been rich as fuck by now, I guess.
But back then, you could have bought a cheap car, gone out there and had fun. I mean, you could still do that now, but there's no.
You couldn't
be competitive.
Keep up with the level of the other cars. Because like now, if you want, like you just said, it's very common to see a $20,000 grassroots car, that's almost insane to even say. But like with the level of how parts have increased, like there's so many different varieties of stuff you can buy, stuff like that. I mean, look at Enjuku, how much shit is on that website. It's insane. But so now we have more access to it, all the parts that we need. So now that makes the barrier to entry higher, and it just scares. I feel like it scares so many people off, and that's what I hate about it.
Drift hats is a real thing. It really is. Yes. It seems like every time somebody makes a breakthrough on a car, that price jumps overnight.
Oh yeah,
Corvettes are coming down, and then, they're good for this. Right back up again.
Adam LZ does that a lot.
So
you're a lot of the reason. That's just influencers in general, but Just like the whole 350Z thing. I swear, when all the influencers bought 350Zs, 350Zs jumped up an extra grand overnight.
You'd be surprised how much I spent on my Z.
Oh God,
$2,800 I drove it home.
You still got to drive it home at least.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
He was asking $4,000 for
not too
it,
bad.
and I got it for $2,800 and drove it home. But the suckiest thing about having a Z that's a factory paint color, you go to the event, there's 2 other cars.
Which one's mine?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that was the biggest issue, finding pictures. That's one big reason why I say make your car look cool at event when you're getting into drifting, because you want pictures, and it's a pain in the fucking ass. Because all my buddies had Zs too, and they had the same color Z, and I'm like, I always had to say to all the photographers, like, look for the white steers, the white steer wheels. That's my car. He was like, oh, I couldn't tell. I thought I was taking a picture of the same car all day. I was like, fuck. Now I only got 3 pictures from you. Yeah, make your car look cool for that reason.
Yeah.
Sorry, little rant.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's
you can carry
good.
on.
But nowadays, if you buy a Z, well, the diff, you could probably be somewhat competitive. I mean, you'll still need angle. Back then, though, I mean,
100 shot of nitrous away from being damn good competitive.
Exactly. So, I mean, most of the guys back in the day didn't even have cut knuckles. We were rocking stock angle, stock power plants, and
which on a Z you can't even do that.
In the podium, yeah, in the Z you can't do everything's bolt on nowadays. But overall cost to entry, as long as you're in a decent line of work where you can get stuff cheap, it's obtainable to drift for pretty much nothing. I mean, what started me driving a lot when I was hosting events, because I was no longer working as a mechanic, so I didn't get free tires.
Yeah.
Well, the nearest dealership in town would take all their tires off the cars and take them straight to the recycling center.
Yeah.
I just casually went out by the service manager. Hey, what do you do with those tires? Oh, we just recycle them. We don't do anything with them. I was like, do you have anybody who hates any? He's like, if you take any, you have to take them all. And I'm like, can I look at they first? Sure enough, most of your rental car companies, when they trade in a car and sell it to the dealership, the dealership don't pull most of the tires off because they're cheap. They have to have if they're certified, they have to put those tires back on. So I was getting Michelin pilots for here's and you could still see it. Some of them would still have the new tread, little knobs on there. And you're like, well,
so okay, like whenever you went and did that, how many usable tires did you get out of however many there were?
Standard trailer is probably 40 to 50 tires. I would probably get 12 that I can drift on. Okay. And then I was set up with 2 used tire shops near me that I would say, I'm going to bring your trailer. I roll up, you say yes or no, just give me $100 for the whole trailer of all the rest of the tires.
Dude.
So that way I was covering my, because
that's what I was about to ask next. Because like, even if you had to go dispose of them, you're paying like $2 a tire probably to go dispose of them. So 40 tires at $2 a tire, you're still paying 100 times less for getting the 12 useful tires that are still decent.
And even if you don't sell them, just take them to the tire shop. Say, hey, I got these from the dealership. I took what I needed. Do you want the rest? That way you have nothing you're paying out of pocket other than your fuel to travel.
That question costs $0. Go do that. That's awesome. I don't know why I've never thought of that. Smart cookie. Okay. Simple. You got any other cheat codes? Damn it. What the fuck?
That's the best cheat code in the house, is if, that going to the dealership for free tires.
Let me know in the comments if any of you guys have done that, because that's pretty impressive, honestly. Okay. The comp stuff. Why do you think it's important for people to understand the cost of that going into that? Because I see a lot of newer people thinking that's the route to go, and since that's what they think, we'll just tackle the conversation. Why do you think that people need to understand that cost, in your opinion? Because it's a lot.
It is. It's a big cost. Like, you can't just go in there and instantly think, I'm gonna go win just because I bought a car. Yeah. You're gonna have to invest heavily into learning your car. Then you got to buy the parts that are competitive. Then you got to go and relearn those new parts that you buy. I've been a victim of it myself. After every event, you buy a new part because you think you need it, and then you go to the next event and you test it, and you're like, "Well, crap! I just didn't qualify because I spun twice."
Yeah.
What changed? Oh, I just changed the setting and I didn't practice on it. So it's not when you sign up for a competition, it's basically you should be ready to throw money into the wind and hope it sticks to something.
Yeah.
Because even your best upgrades, like for me, I did better 2 years ago on just a simple nitrous setup than I have done with this entire supercharger setup.
I hear that a lot too. Yeah.
More power, more problems.
Yep.
Also, as soon as I went solid mounts, it seems like every bolt wants to come loose.
Yep. I've heard that a lot.
Doesn't matter how much Loctite or
I've got solid mount subframe bushings and diff bushings and shit in there, but I'm like, I don't want to put them in yet because I just don't want to deal with the issues that come with them, and especially having a swapped car and stuff like that too. Like you're already dealing with that amount of issues and bolts coming loose. And anyways, yeah, I agree.
There's a big headache involved with competition and just keeping up with the car because, if you have a busy life and you don't take care of the comp car, it's not going to work out. Like every time I've not touched my car before an event, I'm like, I might go do a dozen practice runs. Car feels amazing. I don't bolt check. I go for my qualifying lap.
Car falls apart.
Angle kit just magically comes loose, and I'm like, where did this extra 12 degrees of left-hand steering come from? And now I'm doing a donut.
Yep.
And it's just,
God.
Once you've had enough grassroots practice, if you want to let's say if you want to jump into grassroots, once you have enough practice in the car, just do it. If you want to do it, do it.
Yeah.
Just be prepared it's a pay to play.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not like we're all here on the same car. I mean, even stock car racing, you don't have the cars are all the same.
Yeah.
So you're going to go against cars that are, way up high, and you're going to go against skill levels of everything in between. So you just got to be prepared for yourself of like, all right, here I am. I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
I might go home with my head between my tail between my legs, but if you had fun, that's all that matters. If you're willing to spend $1,000 for fun, then do it.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend $1,000 and then complain about it later, maybe you shouldn't jump into competition yet.
Maybe don't even jump into drifting.
Fair enough.
But all right, how much was your first season? Do you think you spent entirely?
So I had
comp season.
My first comp season, I had to drive from Central North Carolina down to Myrtle Beach. So my biggest cost was fuel. And gas in 2008, that was nothing compared to now. So I probably had not even $1,000 in the entire series.
Entire series?
The entire series, I probably spent $1,000. But I was a mechanic, so in turn, my tires were free. I could always work on my car at the shop.
Yeah.
And it was a bone stock S13 that I daily drove anyway. So, I mean.
Oh, simpler times. Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about, you said your wife is into drifting now.
She is.
How did that come about? What sparked her interest in it?
So when we started dating, I was, of course, drifting. So she hopped in the car, and she was always ecstatic. She could go riding. Yeah. And she rode all the time. She was always helping me at the events. She can change a tire. So, she can in the tire machine if you want to now. I kind of just stand back.
Right?
She just pushes me out of the way. She says, I'm in charge now. I'm like, all right.
Move, bitch. I got work to do.
Exactly. She takes care of her own. But so I bought a Miata for cheap. It was, of course, stretched. Like I buy most of my cars except for fuel.
Yeah.
It was $900 Miata. Already had a hot dog roll bar on there, some aftermarket parts. So I was like, okay, well, simple seat time car for me because a Miata doesn't burn through tires.
Yeah.
That's my biggest cost for the season. So I was like, all right, for myself. And she, as soon as I got it home, her eyes got about this big, and she's like,
so "That's for me, right?"
That's exactly what she asked. I'm like, I don't know. And then it was every day, hey. Can we do this? Can we do this? And I was to the point. I was like,
just antagonizing you.
Here it is.
Take the fucking keys already.
So, my Z is built for me. Cage, the seats, it doesn't move. Everything's hard. Like, I mean, if you see my steering wheel, you'll laugh. It's a little Momo like this big. But when you're drifting, you don't want T-Rex arms. So I had to move it. Get a small little steering wheel.
Oh, dude, yeah. I have a flat steering wheel, which. Well, I have one coming from Grip Royal that's like more outfitted for what I need. But yeah, that and the really thin NRG hub. You ever seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, the like kind of locking collar thing. I have that too because the Z's, dude. I don't know what it is about the steering column, but it sticks so far out.
So far out.
And I'm short as shit, so that does not help. But yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So with her, I was like, well, if you're going to be in a car, you need to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And so we welded the diff, We sent her out. It was so bad. Her first event was a nightmare. Like, the suspension was blown. We didn't realize that she had some aftermarket suspension somebody put on there, but it was not adjusted. So one wheel was like this much higher than the other. We didn't do a nut and bolt check or anything. We just welded the diff, and she's like, I want to drive. I was like, well, let's just go. And so she plowed through the first turn. Luckily, we built a bash bar, but she ripped the mounts out of the chassis, hitting the bash bar.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's because she plowed. And she was like, why am I plowing? We have decent tires up front. And I was like, I don't know yet. Let's do some laps together. And in the first 4 events, she fought the car night and day. Like, every time we do something, we find something else. So, like, we placed the wheel bearing here. We changed the suspension. I finally cut and welded the knuckles to give it a little bit more angle. But then we found out the motor jumped timing by a 2.5, and then that motor failed 2 events later. Then I put a new motor in it. So it's been a fight, but like right now it's feeling a lot better. It's still not where she needs it to be because, I mean, let's face it, I got 3 drift cars. I was like, when I start diving in on hers, I still have 2 other ones I have to worry about. So it's
especially if you only got one space to work on all of them.
It's
like, dude, there's so many times I wanted to pull that FC in the shop, but I'm like, no. I know the Z is going to break as soon as I tear that fucking thing apart. And yeah, so I don't. I know exactly what you're talking about. I hate that feeling. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. So the last event, she got invited to a ladies' day at Piedmont. She did pretty well. She was still fighting the car, but we're still learning what we need to do next. Like coilovers is the new. She really needs new coilovers. She did on Black Friday get some sweet NRG seats.
Nice.
So she's planted Christmas.
The Prisma ones?
She got the Prisma ones.
Yeah.
Super sick. And then her Christmas present, I got her a new 5-point harness from NRG with the pads.
Sick. Okay.
To go with her seat. So she's planted. She has her Core Work Special Edition steering wheel. Nice. Quick hub adapter from NRG. So she's planted. She feels comfortable.
Yeah.
She did get the Core Works Hydra to go with it. So I mean, it's styling. The car looks great. It's just it's not where it needs to be at yet. Because I mean, we set it up for her. So when I'm hopping in it, I can drive it, but she sees me wheeling a lot. Like I start feeling the front end kind of start washing out. So I'll dial some angle back and keep it going.
Yeah.
And she's just not to that point yet. But she also needs a car that actually does what it's supposed to. It has an excessive amount of tow out right now. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if I throw $1,000 at her car, that's $1,000 I could throw in it. The other cars. And so I hate to say hers is on the back burner on my priority list, but I'm like,
only so much you can do.
Only so much I can do because I mean the comp car is, I have sponsors, I have people I have to, be there for. So if I'm not competing in that car and that car is down for instance, that's the amount of time that sponsor is not getting their end of the bargain. And for me, I got to make sure I deliver. But I mean, we have a parts list of what we want for her car. It's just saving up, put money into it because it seems like as soon as we got to the point where we're like, oh good, we can just go ahead and get some coilovers. The engine blew. She was driving that round 4 last year. I was busy changing tires, and she came in. She says it feels down on power, and she's been doing laps all day.
Son of a bitch.
And she's like, I was like, well, how much oil's left in it? Rear main ended up going out while she was drifting, and she didn't notice it because she was on track.
No.
She was on track constantly, and so she's like, I wasn't mad. We have a spare engine, but I was just like, that's the problem with drifting all day. If you're having fun and not thinking about it, gotta check those fluids.
Yeah.
So I wasn't mad at it for you. I was just like, that's the best not trick there is. I mean, dead motor.
That's one thing I'll forget sometimes. I'll get so busy checking everything else, I'll forget to check the oil. It's knowing damn well I just checked it before I left the house. But, still.
If you're hot lapping, you can definitely not, I've seen at Piedmont, somebody, didn't realize their drain plug wasn't in all the way. And they start hot lapping and they're like, my oil pressure light came on. They're like, well, there's a stream from the parking lot to the entry lot.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, I mean, it happens. So,
oh, my God.
But as long as you make a list of what you want done to the car and you follow that list, it'll get right eventually. It's just, but the plus side for her, I'm there to help her, hey, this don't quite feel right. It's not your fault the car's not handling like it should. It's not you're a bad driver. It's the car is fighting you. And if you're fighting the car, drifting is just, I hate to say it, it's not fun if the car is not listening.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting the car all weekend, you come back home, you feel defeated because you couldn't drift.
It'll burn you out quick. Yeah.
So I mean,
that's also a reason why I said in the beginning, pick a car that you're still going to like so that it doesn't burn you out. That's part of that reason. But
It's a good reason though. I mean,
what are some things that you've noticed like have helped it click for her a little bit better and learning just the basics of drifting? I know the car's not fully set up right for her, but like, what are some of those things that have clicked for her?
For her, I was talking with her on the way here actually about it. Your mindset of driving is never drifting when you first start driving. Like when you're driving in the real world, you're not thinking about it. If you're thinking about an apex of a turn, you think about hitting that apex nice and close. You're drifting.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different mindset. For her, I told her that you have a snappy car, and it's a Miata. So your wheelbase is really short. So it was that little bitty input goes, really fast.
Long way.
It's not like the G35 where you can throw a little bit of input and it just does a little.
Yeah.
Miata, you throw a little, it does a lot. So with her, I was like, you need to learn to run the wide lines so you can feel what the car wants to do. And you just got to be planted. And I was like, if you're moving around in your seat, if you're not,
you got to stay in it too. You have Miatas.
I told her, I was like, you can't lift.
Yeah.
As soon as you lift, that rear end's gonna, pull.
It's gonna want to go back straight really fast.
I was like, and plus you don't have the wheel speed. You got to keep the RPMs up.
Yeah.
So I was like, she ran out of wheel speed at the last event because she's coming down the hill. I mean, she's not lifting anymore. So she's like, I'm coming down the hill, but it wants to come out of drift. I'm like, you need to shift now. I mean, it's not just second gear anymore. You need to go third.
Yeah.
But for her to really click, it's the feeling of what the car wants to do and how to make that transitional. Oh, it's doing this. I need to do this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you don't feel what when the car wants is to that point of no return, you'll keep spinning out. I know I did the longest time when the Z.
Yeah.
I had mine was a touring edition, so I was in those leather seats sliding around the whole time, and I'm like, why do I keep spinning? And I'm like, let me change the seat. As soon as I changed the seat, I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is my point. I need to stop throwing angle at it. I can just dial it back.
Yeah, you can feel exactly where it's at. That's why, dude, I'm excited to finally get actual harnesses in my car. Because I still I'm so small. Even the medium on the Prisma seats is still, I got a little bit of wiggle room. So I still slide around slightly. It's not much, but it's still enough to not get the full feeling of the car. And it irritates the piss out of me too. But yeah, that's something I'm extremely excited for. It's not just the seats, because I've already had that, but the harness to really hold you in. But I guess what's kind of her goal moving forward in that car once it is fully set up? What's the next thing she's trying to learn or figure out?
I think long term in that car is she would love to have an ankle kit. And she's practicing tandem now. She'll follow, and I'll have her lead. But it's always a gap between me following her because there's always that chance to spin. And a G35 hitting a Miata, that's not a contest. That's a demolition derby. So when she follows though, she gets the line. That's the nice thing about being a new driver. If you do a follow, with an experienced driver, you will learn what line you should be taking.
Yeah.
And she's already taught about long term. She already wants another chassis. She wants more power, and she's like, "Well, can we do something cool?" She's all about Hondas. She's like, "Let's do a case swap." I was like, "That sounds fun, but this is a total chassis. That sounds like a waste of time. Let's get you something else."
Nah. Total chassis fine.
But she wants, she's in love with a convertible, so she's like, well, BMW Z4, 350Z convertible? I'm like, both.
I hate convertibles too. I hate them.
I mean, I don't have any hair to let my hair out and drive down the road, but it has its place. And plus, if you ever had a weld in a cage on a convertible, so much easier than having So she wants a cage in her next car.
You'll have to have a cage in the convertible.
Yeah, so she has roll bars now, and she's like, I'd love to have a car for cage, so that way I can go. She wants to do Hyperfest. She wants to do VAR. She wants to do Carolina Motorsports Park, anything like that. So I was like, well, you're going to need a capable car, at least boost or something. But I told her, I was like, we got a total car. It's a good learner car. Let's put a little bit more money, get it where it's usable, so that way the kids can use it next.
Yeah.
Because the daughter's already like, it's my time. I'm 13, about to be 14. Why am I not behind a wheel?
You can sign the waiver, Dad.
she can drive it around the yard. She does donuts at times around the yard and knows how to flick it and catch it.
Nice.
So, and
she's crazy carts.
So she's done crazy carts. Fun thing about MB is sometimes they'll wind up in the pits and you just have fun.
Yeah.
But I think the end result is getting the coilovers and then setting up the front end a little bit better to get, right now she's running a modded knuckles, which is fine, but it's still very twitchy. So we just need to get all that twitchiness down and out of the way. I think she'd be a lot happier with it.
Yeah, get the geometry right.
Which is
They're nitpicky.
They are.
You got to get them right. Perfect. But okay, so what is your goal moving forward then with the business or personal driving? What are you trying to accomplish going into this next year?
So this year,
I guess. Yeah.
This year. Gotcha. So this year I would be, I'm going to compete in the CMD events because they kind of have an intermediate grassroots to program style event, which is, it's high payout, but it's also no tire limit.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's fun for
Run
me.
what you brung.
Exactly. So for us, it's a small track, so it's not like you need massive power because even the slower cars can keep up. Because if it's a short track and you're stuck in second or third gear, you ain't going anywhere. So I can try the Z out, get it to the point with the new setup where I feel comfortable going in to try to go pro-am next year because I just won't have time this year for that. So get the Z tried and true for that. The G35 will go into MB Drift for their Grassroots series, so I can keep my practice going. The business is signed to do all the MB events this year. So every MB event, I'll be doing tire changes at.
There you go.
Playing, of course, doing Hyperfest. That's a must for me because it's right. I mean, that's an hour and a half in the house.
Yeah, that's not far.
Grid Life, the beginning of the year is so hectic time. It's kind of hard for me to do both. Haven't been able to do Grid Life. Didn't get to go last year, so it's kind of like.
I'm trying to go to the CMP one, the South Carolina Motorsports.
That one, my buddies went to.
It's the closest to me, so
yeah. For you, that'd be a fun one. Hyperfest is fun too, though, going down that front stretch on that front hill.
Yeah, I do want to drive VRR.
So,
yeah, that track looks gnarly, but yeah.
But both of those would be fun. And then mainly just I need to get. I'm trying to get my wife to do more events. Get her progression. I want to see her compete. I told her, I was like, I want to see you competing by the end of this year. And then I need to get my daughter out so she can get into that process herself. Because eventually I don't need to be competing. Like, and I see myself, I'm 33, about to be 34. I see myself in 2 to 3 years backing off. So if I'm going to do 2 years of Pro-Am, if I don't do anything in Pro-Am, I'm done. Like 2 years. I want to reach for the stars. If I don't get to that point, it's all good.
Yeah.
I want to at least look back on my life and say, I tried.
Just want to chew on it a little bit.
Exactly. So I see like in growing my family on that drifting side with the business. Because eventually, I mean, I'm not going to be competitive.
Yeah.
I'm going to age out like we all will. And so I want to be able to go in 10 years and see my kids drifting and then 30 years see my grandkids drifting. It's just, for me, I want to see it keep growing. Yeah. So that for me this year is all about growth, getting people more into it. And then, if I have to be, 2 years down the road not competing, but just being a spotter, hey, that's the transition. I know the track. I can, look at a track and be like, you need to do these things here to achieve what you want. So, I mean, as long as I'm in the sport, I'm happy.
There you go.
So I think that moving forward is where I'm at. Just keep them ahead in the game. And then if I'm bored of driving, there's always a little pivot to something else in this world of drifting that I'll take up for.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's do one of these last questions I always do in all the podcasts. So we'll start off with the one where you have a bone stock Z or G, which you're going to be buying the same fucking parts anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you're trying to build a car to get to your first track day. So we'll consider you have tires and you have $3,000 to spend on your car that you already have to get to your first track day. What parts are you going to prioritize?
BC coilovers first.
Cheers to that. So it's about $1,000.
About $1,000, yeah.
11.
Then I would do the basic GK Tech bolt-on kit.
Okay.
The LCAs would be nice, but if it's my first day, I don't need to be that guy who destroys a brand new set.
Yeah.
So that way you also have more money for elsewhere.
For Z and G, they have decent angle from the factory, so I would personally say not for your first track day. Like you could spend the money elsewhere.
If you're fresh, yeah, I would say remove the factory bump stops, or at least grind them down to the point where they're just touching.
Oh, just remove them.
Yeah. So
I mean, bolt ins.
They're very easy. Yeah. Just zip them off. If I'm going back and being fresh, it'd be just coilovers, no hydro because hydro is a crutch. I definitely would probably recommend some of the.
That's been a hot topic recently. The
mean,
whole hydro thing. I agree. Hydro's like you don't need it.
Like if you're in a low power cart, that should never be on your mindset. You should be using angle to stall you out, not hydro.
Yeah. You can just get by with a factory handbrake. That's why.
I mean, I had an extension
because there are some scenarios like it's really handy. It's a good tool to have, but like the factory handbrake will do the job until you can afford a proper handbrake setup.
I mean, my first year with the Z, I just added a 2-foot bar, bolted it onto the factory handbrake, and just that was what I was using. So that way I wasn't wrenching my arm. And it worked just fine. The only reason I swapped is because the aluminum bracket snapped, and I was like, well, time for a real one.
There you go.
So coilovers, I would probably say oil cooler, definitely. So
really,
with the Z's, I mean, you're usually on the rev limiter, and for most of us, I mean, your coolant temps might be spiking, but we know that oil is just cooking. And if you want a VQ to last, you don't need cooking oil.
Hey, I don't know, man. I didn't fuck with none of that shit. I didn't even put a catch can on mine. And it was, to me, bulletproof. I couldn't get the bitch to blow up. So
for long-term longevity, I think having the oil cooler is an extra basic quart of oil in there too. So
well, yeah, that's always good.
Helps the capacity.
Yeah. I did consider the bigger oil pan for that reason, just to have some extra oil. But I didn't want to go through the whole oil cooler thing.
The factory fans work fine. The radiator works just fine. So I wouldn't upgrade none of that. Definitely would upgrade the seats because the factory seats are just not it.
That's been a good one that people say.
The steering wheel, most Z's tend to get that it's starting to fall apart. So probably upgrade the steering wheel. Yeah. And if you're like me and you're tall and you don't want T-Rex arms, get a little bit smaller steering wheel.
Yeah. So you got about probably $1,000 left after all that.
You could look at the rear arms just because the suspension was not meant to do all that extra moving up. So you could probably upgrade your tow arms, compression arms, and all that in the rear.
You only need 2 of them. You can get whatever alignment specs you want.
So weld the diff. Probably do a diff brace. I've never needed one.
Yeah, I haven't installed one myself either.
If you're wanting
to, should now.
If you're going on a really bumpy setup, I'd probably go ahead and say just upgrade that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. Steering rack is usually pretty good. Or I would probably put a power steering cooler on there because I tend to burn up a bunch of rat.
Yeah, that's something that I probably need to look into too.
So, that just mainly cooling mods and the coilovers and the seats would probably be my biggest things. Just because you start hot lapping a Z and you don't look at that temp gauge.
Yeah, that's a different angle than most people have taken for that question. So I like that.
So yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Yeah,
keep them on track more. But hell yeah, okay. Well, I guess let's get your best piece of advice for anyone just getting into drifting. Period.
Okay. Everybody else has already hit the KISS method. Keep it simple.
Oh yeah.
So I would say take inspiration from others, but be you. Be the first you. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't go out there thinking, oh, I see this guy running all this. I want to be just like him. If you want to take that, but
add your own touch.
Add your touch. Yeah. Don't, you see the same guy running this angle kit, these parts, and then you come out looking just like him. I mean,
you might get a few laughs or two.
Yeah. So, be yourself, do your own styling. The fun thing about a drift car is it's your canvas.
Yeah.
Do what you want to it. If you want to spray bomb it 18 different colors and look like, your old S13s from back in the day, do it.
Yeah.
But just
pendulum paint it like Adam did. What the fuck, dude? So who the hell thinks of that?
Is
that cool. What it's called? Pendulum painting? I don't know. I'm probably wrong on that.
The comments will let us know.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think just be original. I think that would be the best word of advice. Because you can follow tried and true methods of setting up your car, but it might not be for you. I've seen people buy full GK Tech angle kit, run one event, and be like, I should have bought Weissfab.
Yeah,
that's his own mindset. But for me, I'm still keeping.
Actually, I saw the dude I bought the RB from go through that. Yeah, that exact process.
It's your preference. Just be yourself. I want to see. I don't want to see you just see somebody coming in the sport hoping they're going to be the next FD driver when,
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that's all for the advice.
Pretty much. I mean, to keep it simple, stupid method is,
that's
the top tier.
That's the going rate for that. But all right. Well, cool. I guess plug yourself, plug your people, anyone you want to shout out, anything like that.
Okay. I'd like to shout out to On Point Parts. They're my title sponsor. They keep my car running because they part out Z's and G's. So literally every part for a Z and G, they have it on hand. They're fantastic.
They got a website? Is it like an actual website you can search
the
inventory?
They have an inventory. If you go to their website, On Point Parts.
Cool. Hell yeah.
So the engines, transmissions, you name it, they have it. So usually if I pop something at the track, I'm like already calling them like, hey, get this ready.
How much a rack cost?
They always have those on hand, so they help so much. Cruising Auto from Fayetteville, they do the tuning. So
nice.
Eric down there, he's like, if you have a Nissan or Infiniti or something like that, it doesn't matter. He's really, really good with it.
Cool.
Stage Wheels, they've been keeping me going, and take a pounding too. So that's the good thing about them.
It's always good.
That is always good. This year we have Turbo Time. Stephen Larson from down there has been very nice to me. They're really close. So having his expertise on hand has been helpful. My wife, at Sunflowers Arrow on Instagram, she's keeps me going because some days you start loading up the trailer. You don't think about how many parts are supposed to be in that car trailer or how many little things you forgot. And so she keeps me on my toes. MB Drift staff. I know we're doing some collab stuff this year with the shootout. Them, supporting them is always nice because this shootout wouldn't be possible without them. It's a no rules type shootout. Yeah. And it's mainly for those like myself. I'm building rebuilding my car, and I need to see what I can do on 285s, 235s if I'm going to East Town, and stuff like that. So shout out to them for, they've been around for years. So they're one of the original places I competed
If you're still watching, they should be coming on soon.
Sweet. So yeah, they're a good group of guys. And then Driftaholic Racing, of course, my business. Got to shout out,
Yeah, don't forget that one. What the hell?
Yeah, they're helping us as we try to help the drivers. So that's at the end of the day, if I look at the numbers, I'm not looking to make money. It's mainly keep the business going, keep helping people because a lot of them drive to the track, so you can't really fit tires in the back of your car when you got all the camping gear. So if I can bring 4 tires and make your life a little bit easier, no brainer.
Oh yeah.
And as far as sponsors, that should be in shoutouts. I don't think I have anybody else. I'm trying to run through the car. Let me go through the list. Oh, wait. I got Hunky Dory. I got Olivia who does my livery, and she's doing the shirts for me this year on design.
Nice.
Olivia's been fantastic. Icon Graphics did the wrap on the car, which is, having them close by is really nice too.
Yeah.
And then BC, I have not signed back on with them yet this year. I need to contact them and Stage again. It's always new year. Got to go out through the processes again. But other than that, I think that's about it on my shout outs. Thank you for everybody who's helped us last year with the growth. I know at times waiting in line for a tire change has been a headache, but we're trying. We're still growing that side of the business. So
you support it, things get better.
Exactly. So
same goes for here. Buy the merch. Shameful plug.
It's all good. Hey, buy the merch. There you go.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much all for this one. So I guess if you could, one message to the entire world, if you could just give one message.
To the drifting world or the
entire world? Just everyone in general.
At the end of the day, I would say probably stay in your lane. Don't give somebody else a hard time for the decisions. It might not have been the best. Might not have been the worst, but
mind your own fucking business.
Exactly. For everybody, you'll have a better day if you just stay in your lane. I know we all have our ups and down days, and buying a car sometimes isn't the smartest decision. Buying a spare drift car isn't the smartest idea. But at the end of the day, if you're feeling bad about yourself about buying it, and then somebody else is telling you did a shitty job of choosing the car, and you're like, it just makes you feel worse. So there's plenty of hate out there. Yeah. We see it in the comments on every video and every post. So, for me, it's just, hey, it's one thing to nitpick. It's a whole other thing to bash on somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I guess look below the video. Make sure that subscribe button is not red anymore. And, of course, hit the bell notification. And a lot of the parts that we mentioned, you can, of course, find it on Enjuku Racing. Links are always in the description. Like you said, grab the merch and support the podcast so I can keep bringing you guys better content. But that's all we got. See you each Sunday for a new episode.
Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want 4, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, caught a boy Justin Bieber. Got a little